I don't know about you, but these days it feels like the world and our lives are moving at hyperspeed. The all-new Nissan Murano is an unapologetic refuge amidst the hustle and bustle. In the Nissan Murano, you can take a beat, catch your breath, and re-energize. With its elevated modern interior and bold new exterior, this vehicle stands out. Its massaging leather-appointed seats melt away the tension of a busy day, adds to that feeling of refuge. Optional features like panoramic moonroof that adds tons of natural light to its roomy cabin, and ambient lighting sets the right vibe. So crucial in dreary winter days. The Bose premium sound system helps you escape further into your favorite music. The Nissan Murano and all its features gives you the greatest rush, while not feeling like you're rushing at all. Find your moment of calm in the all-new Nissan Murano. Drive the all-new 2025 Nissan Murano today. Features listed or available upgrades.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Hello to everybody fighting off a cold and also maybe fighting off ghosts. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour. One phone call. No names. No holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hi, everybody. I have a cold, so the intro is not that long this week. Please consider signing up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com. Otherwise, if you're someone who just wants to get to the phone call, you're going to want to skip about 5 minutes ahead. Thanks so much for listening. Hi, everybody. Chris Gethard here. Welcome to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. I am going to have to keep this intro short. Although people have been telling me they like the long intros, and I appreciate everybody who has. I think people can feel it. It's me letting my guard down. It's me finding enthusiasm, finding connection. You can hear it in my voice. But what you can also hear in my voice right now is that I have a pretty bad cold, and we just finished recording a call, so I don't have too much left in the tank, so I'm going to keep it quick. Couple things I want to say is thank you to everybody who the reactions to last week's episode were so varied and so many people were getting different things out of it, and it's very cool to see. I think this week will actually be similar in some ways. Before I mention this week's episode, I do want to just say that if you're out there and looking to support me on the road, I've got shows coming up. After I record this, in a few hours, I'm heading to the airport to go to San Francisco for San Francisco Sketch Fest, so that will be done by Tuesday. But also Portland, Oregon. I'm going to see a whole bunch of you, and I think might be getting dinner with some past callers up there, unless I don't want to get them sick. But the next show I have after this, Brooklyn, you have always supported me. I know that there's a lot of New York area listeners who listen to the show still. Littlefield, Brooklyn, Gowanus, February 3rd. I'm doing a Laughing Together benefit show. This is my nonprofit job. One of the things that I said I would do when I signed up for that nonprofit job was organize some comedy fundraisers. It's a really amazing bill. Sketch comedy from Business Casual, stand-up from Christy Summers, Claire O'Kane, and the great Gary Gulman, who just put out a book and an HBO special. It's his second HBO special, actually. It's going to be an awesome show. The tickets are already over half sold out. I would love to sell it out. The comics get paid, and everything else goes towards putting mental health services in schools. So come on out, and you can get tickets at chrisgeth.com. I've also got Vancouver coming up as part of Just for Laughs Vancouver, February 15th and 16th. And I'll be in Boise, Idaho as part of Tree Fort Music Fest. We'll be doing a live Beautiful Anonymous taping in Boise, the Egyptian Theater. chrisgeth.com for all of those. But most importantly, if you're in that New York area, I would love to have just a warm, supportive vibe in the room for that Laughing Together benefit show. Now, that being said, obviously my voice is dying, so that is karma telling me I cannot ramble for 15 minutes this week. So I will just tell you that this week's episode is really, it takes some turns. It's old school in a way. I love This was a caller who is signed up at the Touchtone tier of Beautiful Anonymous Plus, which you can sign up for at beautifulanonymous.com. Because of that, we do a monthly call prompt that's just a private number for those people. This is the second time someone's gotten through. So thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you to everybody who subscribes. It just bounces in so many cool directions, from travel stuff to jokes about certain corporations intimately connected to travel, to paranormal stuff, to some world events, to a sort of clunky ending for the free feed about Israel and Palestine. That does finally come up on the show. It comes up very organically. I say this in the course of the call, but just to put it out there, I have not taken any public stands on this. I know everyone is. I see a lot of people saying, if you have a public platform and you don't take a public stand, what are you doing? I don't buy that, because I don't think anyone who listens to this show will be shocked to hear I sit here and I stress and I feel pain when I see death on all sides. We have had an Israeli caller reach out to us about wanting to be on the show. We're working to make that happen. I'm also hoping that we can get a Palestinian caller, and we've been trying to produce it where those things could come out close to each other, because this is an issue that has sides, and I want to make sure sides are represented on the show. The pain, the suffering, the video footage is horrible on all of it, and I would love to live in a world where senseless violence didn't see kids getting killed, and that applies in so many directions. And anyway, you'll hear it come up again in the ending, but I wanted to just brace you that it kind of comes out of nowhere at the tail end of the call. The 5 questions are so funny. They're really lovely. I spend a large portion of the 5 questions on this one rapping. I wish that was a joke. It is not. Point being, this call has so much to it. And if you've ever been someone who thinks, I want to just quit everything and get in the car and go and see where life takes me, you're going to love this call, because the caller went for it. It's a dream a lot of us have. The caller lived that dream, and also lived some other dreams that are horrifying. You'll see what I mean. Enjoy the call.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Holy shit. Hey, Chris. I know it's you. I'm not going to ask.
I would love it if it goes from hi as this Chris to holy shit. I would love if we just made, we're in a new independent era. The rules are gone. Let's go with that.
Holy shit. That feels right to me. How are you today? Honest answers, as always.
Honest answer is I have a cold that I thought was gone. And then last night it decided it was not gone. So you can probably hear it in my voice a little bit. And on top of it, I'm flying cross country to San Francisco tomorrow on Friday. And then up to Portland on Sunday. And then a red eye home Sunday night. So I'm like, man, I love trying to get home and be with my family as much as possible. But why did I do this to myself?
Oh, man.
That's okay.
Okay, you're going to San Francisco. I lived in the Bay Area for about 8 years. So what are you going to be doing there? Do you have a show?
Well, yeah, there's that thing called San Francisco Sketch Fest, and I'm doing 4 shows, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's a great festival. They've had my back over the years really hardcore, so I have a lot of love for the San Fran Sketch Fest.
Well, I hope you feel a bit better by the time you have to fly out. And, it's a quick trip. You'll be back to your family soon. And
thank you so
break
much.
A leg, as they say in the biz, right? I'm not in the biz, but
you're nailing it. You're crushing it. Now, how are you? How are you coming out of the gate with this confident energy? How are you?
Oh, wow. Thank you. I don't consider myself a confident person, but, I'm faking it right now. It's all good.
So you mentioned you lived in the Bay Area for a while.
I did. Yeah. I lived there for about 8 years. It was an experience. It's wild there. I love it. There's a lot of amazing things about it. But what happened was I was basically I moved my entire family for a job. And the job that I took, I was super excited about it at the time. It was $60,000 per year, which sounded like a ransom. But then we got to the Bay and it was like, oh, this will get you nothing. So it was like 8 years of scrapping really hard. I brought my husband, our 2 daughters, the whole family, the cat, the dog. We drove across the country to live there and make this big money. And it was just like 8 years of scrapping, but pretty awesome experience overall.
Yes, 60 grand before taxes for a family of 4 and 2 animals in the San Francisco Bay Area is not.
Yes. It's not.
No, you can't compete with the endless amount of Airbnbs and tech bros and penthouses at 60 grand a year. No way.
No, you can't. I will say, we did all right. We figured it out. It took a little bit. So glad we made the leap. I'm so glad I didn't know how hard it was going to be, because we wouldn't have done it. We left my husband had a pretty stable job, not like his dream situation, but it was stable. We left a 4-bedroom little ranch style house in Colorado and found ourselves in a little dinky apartment where you could see into our neighbors' windows. And it was just like, wow, I can't believe I brought my whole family for this adventure. So maybe I am confident.
I have to say, something is explained there, because you said San Francisco, and I was about to say you sound like you grew up in California, but then you said you drove across the country to go there. Then you said Colorado. You said Colorado. I go, okay, True. That's the accent I'm tracking. That's
West Coast, not really coast, Western United States. Yeah, not across the country, partway across the country.
Got it.
Felt like a long drive with a dog, a cat. I had my daughter. I was driving with my daughter. She was driving. She was already in high school when we did this. No, She was in college. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So
wow.
We did it. And then fast forward, I worked my way up, got to be a pretty excellent marketing person. And then I sound so West Coast. And then I got laid off like right after the pandemic. It was just like huge market shift. My company I was working for, I was leading like a team of 10. I was doing really good, kind of like pinnacle career stuff. Laid off, 50% of the company gone. Boom. Like these tech layoffs, they keep rolling out. It's still happening.
Yeah.
And then, so, you know what I did? My husband was working, but he went remote because of pandemic. And we decided, you know what? Let's hit the road. Oh, the other thing that happened was after 8 years there, both of our daughters grew up, moved away, empty nesters. So it was me, my husband, my dog, the cat had moved to France with my daughter. So it was me, my husband, and my dog left. This layoff happened. And we decided, let's just not live anywhere for a while. Let's just cruise around and see what's up out there. Like get out of the Bay Area, check out some cities, decide what we want to do. We got really weird about it. We made this big spreadsheet. We have all of these ranking factors, how do you decide where to live? And so we spent about a year doing that.
This is awesome. And you and I have so much to talk about. I do have one question right away. Have you just retained an insanely youthful vibe, or did you have your daughters really young? Because you don't sound like someone who has what sounds like now, if I'm doing the math right, you have daughters in their 30s or pushing it.
Yeah, pushing it. Mm-hmm. Okay,
so did you just get in there young, or are you just did you find the fountain of youth? What is the secret?
I did find the fountain of youth. I found it.
Because I sound like this, and I'm 43 with a 4-year-old. So please tell me how to pick myself back up off the goddamn ground.
That's very astute of you, Chris. So number one, yes, I did start young. I had my daughter when I was 19. That said, even though I was 19 when I had her, and I say her because we have a mixed family here, but when I had her, still people think I'm about 10 years younger than I am at all times.
Good on you.
So, yeah. So I'm 47. No, I'm 46. I will be 47 soon, though. And, people take me from my mid 30s at this point. My daughter's 27. I married my amazing, amazing husband. He's like literally the best human on the planet. 11 years ago, we've been together for 16. So he brought to the relationship his daughter, and she's 23.
So you got it. You started young. Your husband started young.
Yep.
You Brady Bunched it.
We Brady Bunched it.
And now you're 4 years older than me, empty nesters traveling the world without a care in the goddamn world. Whereas you're about to turn 47 and everyone thinks you're in your 30s. I'm 43 and people think I'm 58 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm at the beginning. Can you imagine having a 4-year-old right now? Can you imagine?
I could not. I do not want that.
The worst mistake I ever made was starting as late as I did, both because of these feelings I'm joking about, but even more so because it's hard. But man, the kid is a fun. He like adds all new dimensions, and I wish I just had more life that I experienced with those dimensions.
Man, well, we have like the inverse experience because at 19, when you have a kid, I was in college, my second semester, had a shotgun wedding. Like my life was a hot mess. And, that I could say that was like the biggest mistake of my life. Honestly, it was probably the most huge blessing of my life because I would not want to be in my 40s as some of my friends are thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to miss out on having a kid. Like I need to do that, So there's pluses and minuses. Start early, start late, you're a little bit more, you have foundation, you know who you are, you know what you want. You can handle the responsibility in hopefully an A+ manner. Whereas I was just going in blind completely. Like, I think I do this a lot, but just, okay, trust fall. Let's see what happens. And, the outcome is amazing. My kid is amazing.
My dad was 27, I believe, when he had me, and he had my brother when he was 24. And I said to him, I may have said this on the show. Apologies if people had ever heard it before. And I said to him, I was like, you have the end of your life now. Like, you've had all these years to, like, ride a bike and travel if you feel like it and do stuff. And he was like, yeah, but I'm jealous of you because you were, like, stable financially when you had your kid, whereas I spent your entire childhood scared that if I broke my leg, my whole family would starve. I was like,
right.
Oh, right. That's good perspective. Could not have.
I feel that. But you know what else? When you're that young and you have a kid, you can go to the playground, you can get on those swings, you can you have so much energy. And I think the energy, I don't know, and also my daughter and I are like incredibly close. I feel in some ways like we grew up together. I am definitely her mother. I'm not like her. I'm not trying to be like, oh, we're best friends. I'm her mom. But, we have just a really cool relationship and she has exceeded all my expectations. It's like, how does a single mom, because I was married only for a short time, how does a single mom raise such a badass? I don't know. But I think it's partly because she's just natural badassery.
And now, how long did you spend in this empty nest? And it sounds like some cool ass kids, like popping off to France to go grow up in France. Like, all right, cool. Got a cool family. You're empty nesters. You realize you can get out from under the oppressive real estate market of the Bay Area. How long do you spend in this wandering life?
We only did it for a year. It definitely had an expiration date on it, partly because my husband, he really prioritizes stability. I think I'm more of the wild card in the family. So he, you know, I wanted him to be happy. And I think that lifestyle where you don't know where you're going to live next, you don't know what's going to happen next. It seems really romantic, but when you're in the day-to-day of it, it is a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. So we did it for a year, and we, you know, honestly, we didn't get like geographically that far. We have this old dog, and so we couldn't fly places. We were driving everywhere. And so we spent about a month each in different cities, focused primarily in the West Coast and in the Southwest corner of the US. So we didn't like do a big world travel. It was a very geographically limited travel. But we got to know some really cool places and experience some interesting people, and did like a little homebrew podcast about the experience, and had a few like diehard people, and just
That's so cool.
had a blast. It was fun. I will never forget it. And, you know, like family would be like, you guys are nuts. Why are you doing this? My daughter was like, you're kind of old to be doing something like this, Mom. And I'm like,
Now, is this okay if I ask a bunch of questions about this? Because I'm fascinated by it.
Sure.
Because this could take on many forms. This could be, we just traveled around and kept finding pet-friendly hotels, and we're getting hotels every night. This could be, we drove out to some like off-the-grid community in the desert and lived in yurts for a while. It could be anything in between. And I have a feeling you probably experienced some of that spectrum, correct?
Yeah, we were really specific about the way we did it. Before we left, we considered doing the van life thing. I think the van life thing was very popular, especially with the pandemic fear. You know, it's a nice way to travel around in a capsule. But we decided not, because 3 factors. 1, we realized it was going to be crazy expensive, like more expensive than it first appears, right? You get this thing, then you have to maintain the thing. There's just a lot of expenses that we realized. And then 2, when you have like a vehicle like that, you can't just park it anywhere. You need to have like, and most of the parking is available kind of outside the center. And we really wanted to experience like the city, the cities that we were visiting.
Yeah.
We didn't want to be on the outside. And then 3, for me, big deal breaker was the idea that like you have to shit right next to your kitchen. Like, no. I was like disgusted when I realized the bathroom situation of these things. Like, no.
Truly, you and I are meant to be friends when that's your concern. I'm like, I just cooked eggs there and now I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Can't
like,
live
no.
like this. So you were finding more hotels or more?
Yeah. So
what
we
did
went
we
on
do?
the Airbnb circuit. We went on, and we were really fortunate in a position where we had gotten used to paying a ridiculous rent living in the Bay, like stupid rent. So the price point for an Airbnb, although expensive, was less than what we were used to paying. Right. So this is a super privileged situation I found myself in. I'm very honest about that, because you're paying our budget was $2,800 a month, which was less than we were paying in the Bay. And you know what that gets you on Airbnb? It gets you most of the time a studio, sometimes a 1-bedroom. Almost 100% of the time we learned you don't get to be like exactly where you want to be in the city. You're kind of like in a weird outskirt neighborhood. So, you know, the van life and that had that in common. It wasn't like you were like right in the thick of it. So it was a little more expensive, but still affordable relative to what we had gotten used to paying.
Right. You had a budget set that could accommodate this.
Yep. So we did Airbnbs. We had some fantastic situations and we had some horrific situations. Okay, that might be a lie. Horrific is a little exaggeration. Some pretty iffy situations. So it was a range of experiences. Then we had our dog in tow, and that added a layer of complexity for us as well. because not every place is going to be dog friendly.
And also, I don't want to talk bad, but as someone who travels as much as I do, Airbnb was a godsend for many years.
Yes.
And I know that this is becoming a more and more popular complaint online, but I certainly started to sense a few years ago, when you go to a hotel, like, they don't ask you to do the laundry at the end of it.
Thank you. Yes.
And they don't say, make sure that you turn the thermostat down to this and that, and you're going to get towed if you park here or there, and you have to strip the sheets off the bed, and please throw them in the laundry. And the problem with all that stuff, because Airbnb was very community driven, but the problem with it all is that during the pandemic, they started having very exorbitant cleaning fees, which I was very understanding of, because if you need someone to come in and sanitize it all to a COVID protective level, I get that. But there's clearly a lot of Airbnb people where you will now spend a lot of time researching a place, and you'll go, cool, this is in my budget. It's in a neighborhood that I like. For me, I'll be like, wow, I can like walk to the comedy venue I'm doing my show at in this town I've never been to before. And it's somehow affordable. And then very often with those cleaning fees, it's not an
budget.
It's not an exaggeration to say that it will sometimes more than double the price.
Yeah.
Even with understanding about the COVID nature of the world the past few years, if you're going to charge me a cleaning fee that is twice what you're charging me for the rental, I'm not stripping the pillowcases.
Thank you.
You strip the pillowcases if I'm paying you hundreds of dollars for the fee. And it makes me not want to use Airbnb anymore.
That's exactly where we're at, too. We did it for a year, and we had to be very aware of those stinking upcharges that messed up your whole budget and blew you out of the neighborhood you wanted to be in. And then, you're sitting there taking out the trash, making sure the bins are facing the right way, making sure you sweep the sand from whatever.
I am straight up at a point. I mean, there are times where it's not a joke to say you open the door to an Airbnb and there is a whiteboard of rules in front of you. And there is no human to greet you. You got a weird code. I've had ones where the picture was straight up of a restaurant down the block that was super nice. And I was like, hey, there's like straight up fast food wrappers. This guy kept sending me a thing. You need to leave a review or I'm not leaving you a review. I go, hey, you put a fake picture up and the front lawn of your place was covered in fast food wrappers. There were literally Wendy's fry containers and drink. Like, if you want me to leave a review, I'll do it. But I'm not going to tell people this was a good experience. So how about you stop messaging me? P.S. I didn't take out the trash because there was trash on the lawn. Why do I have to pack up your trash? The amount of money I pay in St. Louis.
Better yet, I threw your trash on the lawn with the rest of it.
I bet no joke, my guess is that the last person showed up, saw how many fucking rules there were, got drunk or high, was like, fuck this, dumped their trash on the lawn, and that the person didn't even come in between and actually clean. That's my guess. These Airbnb psychos. Anyway, I think they have been a past advertiser on the show, so apologies for screwing that account up if that's the case. I think that's right. I'm not sure if that's... No, I don't think they were a sponsor. I'm thinking of another company that I have some issues with, but actually I think I'm wrong. I don't think Airbnb ever sponsored. All right, yeah, cool. Fuck them. We can say whatever we want. Also, I won't talk shit about the following sponsors ever. I promise. Sincerely. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited right now to tell you about our new sponsor, Green Chef. In the past, we've worked with HelloFresh, and you've heard me rant about how much I loved the experience of HelloFresh. Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, and it gives them a wider array of meal plans to choose from. There is something for everyone here, and you can switch between the brands. Love it. And listeners, you can enjoy them both with a discount via the show. Green Chef is awesome. They're very focused on making sure they have functional health benefits. They are wellness focused. They have the #1 meal kit for clean eating, for example. They have gut-friendly recipes. every single week. They have a new gut and brain health meal plan that includes all sorts of mouthwatering and nutritious dinners. There's clean snacks here. There's functional drinks. That's what I really love about how these companies are thinking now. We will all remember that years ago when this started, it would be like you got a big pile of vegetables in a box and you're sitting there and you're peeling everything yourself and you're chopping it up. And there is a lot of fun and gratification to that. But now a lot of these companies are also going, let's have all sorts of meals. Let's have snacks. Let's have drinks. Let's have all these things that tie together. Let's talk about clean eating and living. Okay. Green Chef can take the work out of eating clean with chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes. And we're talking organic fruits and vegetables, organic cage-free eggs. That's incredible. Sustainably sourced seafood. It's not always easy to find these things at high-end supermarkets on a consistent basis. They're taking that work out of your hands, making it so easy. There's a ton of variety, by the way. Each week, there's over 80 plus options. You can customize your meals. We're talking vegan, vegetarian, fast and fit, Mediterranean, gluten-free, protein-packed. All kinds of great stuff happening through Green Chef. It is, again, another elevation of the meal delivery service. You all know how good HelloFresh is. The fact that Green Chef and HelloFresh have now linked up, you know this is going to be high quality stuff delivered right to you. And they have a whole green market, by the way. If you're looking to be a mindful eater, it's your one-stop shop. You get high quality, carefully curated foods. There's grab and go breakfast. There's brunch kits. There's 10-minute lunches. There's snacks, veggie sides, and more. Like I said, drinks. It's now becoming something that accommodates not just the variety of choices you want, but the lifestyle, the fact that sometimes you have time to sit down and cook a meal, and that can be a very Zen-like experience. Sometimes you need to grab a snack. They got you covered on all those points. I have really loved the Green Chef experience. As you all know, I am somebody where my weekly schedule is unpredictable. So the fact that I have times where I can go, oh, I'm home for a few nights. Let me cook a nice dinner for my family that helps me punch above my weight with a Green Chef meal. That's the guidance involved allows me to achieve a meal that's better than I could pull off on my own with my skill set. That's incredible. The idea that sometimes it's like, I've got shows tonight and I'm traveling this weekend. I just need to grab something and go. They accommodate that too. Absolutely well done. Kudos to the chef, dare I say, the Green Chef. I went there. Listen to this deal, by the way. Go to greenchef.com/60stories and use the code 60stories. You'll get 60% off, plus 20% off your next 2 months. That's greenchef.com/60stories. Use the code 60stories. You'll get 60% off. That's 60. I'm not misspeaking here. 60% off plus 20% off your next 2 months. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. Thank you to all of our sponsors who I don't think any of them charge exorbitant cleaning fees. Anyway, let's get back to the phone call. I think they have been a past advertiser on the show, so apologies for screwing that account up if that's the case.
Oh my gosh!
But I can't sit here and lie to people. It's beyond the pale. And now hotels have started to realize that I think if they advertise like, hey, if you show up, leave your towels on the floor and we won't even get mad at you. And you're like, awesome. They're like, that's the other thing about Airbnb. So you can't check in until 6:30 p.m. and then your checkout time is 5:45 a.m. Also, do the dishes. Not just the ones you used, but the ones the last person left. Do those too.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, the cleaning fee is $1,100. You're like, but it's listed as $80 a night.
Yeah.
These people.
I have to say, thank you for ranting on behalf of all of us who have been screwed over by that ridiculous system. What I think our worst day during our adventure was we booked a place in Flagstaff, Arizona, and it was listed as a 1-bedroom, and they took all of these strategic shots of like, a table and a bed and a kitchen, and they listed it as a 1-bedroom apartment. And we were so excited. We'd been living in a studio. We were tired of the studio life, working from home, stuck in a little studio. So we get to this new place and it is a bedroom. It's not an apartment. It is a bedroom as part of a larger house. It did have a kitchenette. It had an attached bathroom, but there was no space around the bed. There was a tiny little 2-person table at the foot of the bed, no closet, nowhere to store your stuff.
Yeah. And then the cleaning fee, what, triples the price?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, the cleaning fee, but there was layers of dust on everything. Nobody was cleaning that freaking place.
These people.
Nobody. And then to make it even worse, I'm sitting out on the little tiny patio in Flagstaff, Arizona winter, enjoying a little bit of sunshine with my dog. And the woman who lives in the big house comes by. She's on a walk. She comes by and I say, "Hey, hello." Very nice. And she starts screaming at me about having a dog on her property. And I said, I told she had like a rental liaison or somebody. I told them I have a dog. Like, this shouldn't be a surprise. She stood over me while I'm sitting there on her patio, trying to enjoy my coffee, screaming at me, telling me how he's filthy, how she doesn't want to have to clean up after him. I'm like, there's 6 inches of dust in that freaking place. I've been dusting it for you.
Good.
And
I'm glad you said it.
I wanted to leave so bad, but we couldn't afford to get out of there. It was nuts.
Listen, and I also want to be clear too, because we've now talked about Airbnb enough that there's definitely people out here thinking it. I know that there are genocides happening in the world.
Oh, God.
There are natural disasters. There are,
True.
I mean, there are people fleeing their homelands and being shut out of nations where they hope to find acceptance and safety. There's big problems. But I will say, as far as the American experiment, I'm barely exaggerating when I say that Airbnb is absolutely a crack in the armor of American democracy, because it's untethered capitalism and everybody now being told that they have to rent out parts of their home or jump in their own car and put miles on their car to go deliver stuff or give other people's rides, and you don't get insurance, and it all goes through middlemen, and it's bad. Anyway.
Yes.
So I want to talk, because there's a lot of people out there, myself included, who have fantasized about this idea. Maybe someday I'll get an RV and just go live out of it for a while. Or the van life, or you said we researched it, because I've done a few RV trips in my life, and I know exactly what you mean. You cut yourself off from access in a lot of the big cities, and you wind up sleeping in Walmart parking lots. And Walmart, although they are also capitalism that crushes small businesses, at least they let people sleep in their parking lots. Pretty cool of them.
Yeah, that is cool.
But, you think of it like Into the Wild, and Into the Wild, the movie is a slightly cautionary tale. I think a lot of us know how it ends, but it's also, sweeping vistas, and Emile Hirsch is very attractive in that movie, and Sean Penn directed it, and it's got a soundtrack. The book, if you read the book Into the Wild, it is much more like, hey, here's all the ways that, this was a bad idea, and where you need to do research and it was not done right. And it's a much more sobering look at the wandering life. What are the aspects you found romantic? What are the aspects where you went, here's where it was not worth it or not as fun as we thought? Are there cities that blew you away that you didn't expect? Are there places you'd recommend? Are there places that you'd go, I heard a lot of good about this place, but honestly, you can avoid it if you're planning on doing something like this? I want the breakdown on things like this.
Yeah, I will say every city we visited, I fell in love with. So I don't have any negative cities to avoid, partly because we did our research before we went places. I'm in an interracial marriage, and it was really important for me that we don't spend time in cities where I felt like it would be unsafe for my husband. He's a Black man. And I just wanted everything to be copacetic. So we did a lot of research. I think the hardest state to find a spot that felt safe and good and affordable was Arizona, to be honest. There were some cities in Arizona that we were considering, and then we would do our deeper research, and we'd find out that there was the Proud Boys there. And, we were coming from our Bay Area bubble, so we might have been extra sensitive to all this stuff. But we just tried to find cities where we felt like there was some kind of values alignment. So we went to Flagstaff, which was amazing. I was so concerned about Arizona. Honestly, that was the hardest one for me. But Flagstaff, the town, was incredible. Hiking trails,
Cool.
just like amazing coffee, friendly people. It was just exceeded all my expectations besides the Airbnb. And then, we took like a day trip to Sedona, which is, like the woo woo place. I'm kind of a woo woo person. So that was amazing. And
Explain what
yeah,
being a woo-woo person is. Explain this to me.
yeah, there's not very, you don't get a lot of woo woo conversation on this podcast, Chris. But yeah, I'm have some psychic abilities. I have psychic dreams. I've seen ghosts. I'm kind of in touch with like the weird side of life. And Sedona is just like they say there's vortexes in Sedona. It's like you can get really in touch with like the power of the universe.
So you've seen ghosts, and you explain to me, and I want to say
Yeah.
there is, and I'm sure you encounter this all the time, so I'll just lay out the breakdown for me. Some skepticism and some jokes will be made. I'm
Sure.
also not a total non-believer. I've had some strange things happen in my life.
Yeah.
So I want to get a breakdown of what type, when you say that there's some psychic abilities here and some encounters, I want to get a breakdown of what your abilities seem to entail.
Okay. Well, first of all, huge caveat. I'm a pretty balanced person. And so this is just like one side of my life. You know what I mean? So I'm also very practical, and I have a daughter who's a scientist, and, she's always like keeping me in check. So just that caveat. But ever since I was a little girl, I would have just psychic dreams. So I dreamed, for example, that when I was little, my grandmother died, and sure enough, she died. But as I grew older, I would have kind of dreams that would be helpful. So, for example, I met this guy when I was single, super attractive, a lot of fun. I was developing some like fantasy that this could be a real relationship. I had a dream that he introduced me to a blonde-haired woman who he said was his wife, and a dark-haired woman who he said was his girlfriend. And he and I went out, and in passing, I was like laughing, haha, I had this weird dream about you. I kid you not, Chris. His face dropped, and he started accusing me of spying on him. Apparently, he had a wife with blonde hair and a girlfriend who was a brunette, and he was trying to pick me up, a redhead, to complete his set. So, he was so mad. He was so mad. It was just a dream. I've had dreams where a friend of mine was like telling me that they were really depressed and needed help. And I called to check on them. And sure enough, they were having distress in their lives, and they really needed a friend to call them. And if I may tell you my favorite ghost story of all time that I've experienced.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I've been wanting to share this with the right group of people, and I think the beautiful anonymous people are going to love this one.
Everybody's buckling up right now.
Okay.
I tell you that.
So this is my other grandma, my grandma on my mother's side, who died when I was, in my 20s. But the night that she died, she came to me in a dream, and she said my name. I just want you to know that I am relieved to die. This is okay. I don't want you to be sad for me. I want you to just know that I'm in a better place now. This is just the beginning. Okay. I woke up and I called my mom, and she was crying. And I was like, why are you crying? She's like, my mom died last night. And I was like, well, that's funny because I had this dream about her. And I explained to my mom the dream about her mother, and it kind of brought some comfort. Anyway, A few days later, we're heading to the funeral, and we were traveling. My mother, my brother, and I were traveling across, well, from Colorado to California, where my grandmother was being buried. And we're in my mom's house, and there's this big flicker of light. Sorry, from one end of the house to the other. She lived in a big ranch style, like single-story house. The lights from in the front of the house flickered on and off, middle of the house on and off, back of the house on and off. Okay, fine, no big deal. There was a storm brewing over the Rockies, whatever. We were just having a weird power surge. Didn't think anything of it. We get in the car, my mom, brother, and I, driving to the airport. It's about 40-minute drive from where they lived. As we're driving, all of the traffic lights are doing this weird flicker. Not like your normal pulsing on and off if they're down, just like this vibrating flicker. Weird. But there's that storm. Something electrical is happening around here. Who knows? We get to the airport. I look up, and the clock on the wall is rotating through all the numbers. Rapid. It's like an electric clock. Now I'm starting to get a little suspicious. I'm like, that's freaking weird. So I start like elbowing my brother, like, do you see that? Do you see what's going on here? Have you noticed anything? He's a skeptic. Like, he's kind of embarrassed about this side of me. I'll tell you that. No, nothing's happening. We get on the plane, sitting next to my brother. My brother's terrified of flying. His leg is shaking. He's got like shaky leg syndrome when he's scared. My overhead light goes on, off, on, off. Then my brother's on, off, on, off. Now I'm convinced. I'm like, brother, look, the lights over our two seats are going on and off. Nobody's else are doing this. I think it's grandma. And he's like, no, absolutely not. He's scared of flying. Don't mess with his mojo. Shut me down. Okay. We fly to California. We get to the rental car counter. The electric door is opening, closing. And then we get to the hotel, and the TV starts going on, off. And my brother unplugs the TV because he's like feeling rather uncomfortable. And the TV goes blue when it's unplugged and then goes off, like blew off. And I was convinced, and the bedside lamp was going on and off. So all of these electronics from Colorado all the way to California. You did not have to tell me twice. So, well, you had to tell me, I don't know how many times that happened, but.
What does your brother need to be convinced, actually? At what point does your brother say, at the very least, something strange is happening today?
I think that last moment with the television got him. I do.
Okay. It's got to hit some point where he's like, I still don't believe it's grandma, but this is at least fucking weird.
And I said, in that moment, Grandma, we know it's you. Thank you for telling us that you made it to the other side safe. And that was the last I heard from Grandma.
And then your brother was like, no.
Yeah. And then he still to this day would be like, whatever.
Wow. I'm convinced.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my favorite story.
Have you ever tried to harness these abilities, train with them, go to a place like Lilydale in New York or Cassadaga, Florida, where mediums live and provide such services?
I would love to do that. I have not, though.
So Sedona's the closest.
Yeah. I do mess with tarot cards. I have like my little rituals at home. I'm like a self-studied witch, so to speak. I do have to tell you one funny story. I was at the airport. My dad unfortunately had a stroke. He's fine now, but I was traveling to see him, and I thought I better bring all of my magic stuff to the air, so I could help him if I needed to. And so I brought like my tarot deck and like these crystals and this like knife that I forgot I had in my magic bag. And so TSA saw the knife, and they of course stopped me and they start going through my stuff, pull out all of these like, occultish items. And they're looking for this knife, which I totally forgot I had in there. And they see this crystal that has kind of like a pointy end. And he's like, oh, I think this is what we saw. And I was like, oh yeah, probably. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'm just a witch. And the TSA agent looks at me. He goes, did I hear what I think you just said? And I was like, I can't believe I just told this to a TSA agent. They gave it all back. They never saw the knife because it was like sheathed and you couldn't really tell what it was.
You probably cast an invisibility spell on it, a cloaking spell.
Yeah.
I've said it lately a lot more, I'm starting to realize. And every time I mention it, we will get a few comments in the Facebook group that are like, yeah, dude, right here. The number of people on this show who either outright or partially view themselves as witches, I think our listeners, for a dopey 43-year-old guy who lives in the suburbs of New Jersey, I have a feeling that I have a strong fan base of witch or witch-adjacent listeners. I'm thoroughly convinced.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm officially one, but I have witchy tendencies. So,
I mean, you've traveled with crystals and knives to perform magic on an ailing relative. So what else? I mean,
accurate. That's accurate.
Maybe you didn't pay the membership dues to get the actual membership card, but if you're not a witch, you've participated in witchcraft at the very least.
This is accurate. Yes, you're right. I have. Yes. Oh, you got it.
We've had so many religion-focused episodes of the show. Even the Episcopalian priests, I feel like they're probably quietly witches who call the show. I think maybe witches, maybe that's the only real religion at the end of the day. Who knows? Who knows? And that has to be the ad break there. Of course, Andrea is going to make the pro-witchcraft rant where we take a deep breath and leave that lingering. I'm telling you, Andrea has never told me if she does black magic, white magic, any of it. Just typed in the doc that she says she never will tell me, but I think we're all seeing the writing on the wall here. Anyway, we'll be right back. I have got to tell you guys, Vessi Footwear is here advertising on the show, and I'm blown away. I am someone who I have found a few comfortable brands over the years, and I have stuck with them. I got Vessi's Chelsea and Stormburst shoes to check them out. I wear them every day now. This is not an exaggeration. I'm about to fly to San Francisco and do a bunch of shows, then fly to Portland, do some shows, fly home. It's going to be a hard weekend. I said, I'm wearing these Vessis because they are without a doubt the most comfortable sneakers I've ever worn. And I would not tell you guys that just to please a sponsor. They're ridiculous. They are waterproof. The Northeast has been slammed with rain and snow, and I can be out here in sneakers that look good, but are also water resistant. Are you kidding me with the weather I've been putting up with lately? With a flooded basement, and then all of a sudden they send waterproof shoes to my house. Vessi, I love you for it. And you'll also be happy to hear this before I get into any of the talking points that they sent over. Okay? They showed up, and my wife, Hallie, goes, wait, did Vessi send you shoes? I was like, yeah. She's like, I already buy those. Those are awesome. I wore those on our trip. I researched the best sneakers to get for a trip to Scotland a couple years ago, and it was them. So already my wife, who you guys all know, has great taste and is ahead of the curve. She's already been wearing them, and now they're sponsoring the show. Whether it's your morning routine, you're out there on the busy streets, you need to keep your feet dry as you're headed to work, as you're headed to class, whether you're on a weekend adventure, whether you're getting out on a hike, looking for something spontaneous to do and you don't know what kind of weather you're going to encounter, whether you're relaxing in the evening, whether it's a rainy day and you get out there, whether it's in the city, whether it's out there on the trails, Vessi has you covered, okay? It's a new year. This is a new you. I will be wearing these things on stage tomorrow night, and I can't wait because my good God, are they comfortable. And I'll tell you something too. The Chelsea, I can vouch for those. Those are super comfortable. You would think that the Stormburst, I believe, are the ones they sent that are more of a boot shape. You'd think those are a little heavier, clunkier. Boots in general are. Not this time. Super comfortable as well. And on top of it, I feel comfortable wearing them on stage because they look good too. And another thing that's always important, Vessi is a very eco-conscious choice. Okay, start the new year with some eco-friendly decisions in your life. They have a huge commitment to sustainability. They don't just look good, they're good for the planet. The manufacturing process is designed to reduce water use. It avoids harmful chemicals. Stylish choice, also a responsible one, which is really, really great. Quality company, incredible product. It's awesome. Are you ready to step into the new year with style and confidence? Vessi's got you covered. From chic city walks to adventurous treks, find the perfect pair for your lifestyle at vessi.com/beautiful to get 15% off your first order. Transform your everyday routine into an adventure with Vessi. Stylish, comfortable, and waterproof. They're the only shoes you will need this year. Head over to vessi.com/beautiful to explore the versatile collection. Claim your 15% discount on your first order. Embrace every moment, come rain or shine, with Vessi. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. Now let's finish the phone call. That maybe that's the only real religion at the end of the day. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah, I try not to identify with any kind of religion. I'm not there, but yeah.
I go back and forth, as every listener of this show has heard a million times. So just traveling around, getting to Sedona, tapping into the woo-woo, feeling like you did feel like, as someone who has had some strange dreams and premonitions and encounters, you got to Sedona, had heard the reputation, and felt like, oh yeah, this place is vibrating on a level that's, I can feel that something is happening here.
Well, 2 takeaways from Sedona. One, it was tourist mayhem, which kind of detracted from the awesomeness. But 2, we found this really incredible trail that was not on the popular tourist route. And I kid you not, I burst out in tears. The feeling there was so profound and powerful. Just like, first of all, it's awe-striking beauty. I could have just been crying because it was so pretty, but there was just like this really strong energy. And it just like got me good in a good way. So, yeah.
I bet you would love Taos, New Mexico.
You know, we didn't make it to Taos. It was on our short list. We ended up in Santa Fe.
I've been to both. I'm sure Santa Fe, I have had great times there too. And Albuquerque. I like New Mexico.
Yeah.
I wound up traveling with some comedians in an RV many years ago. And we just kind of went where the winds took us. It was just a couple weeks. It was kind of a stunty thing. And we wound up in Taos. And I mean, we met people living in yurts. We met people who lived in houses that were built from, you know, what a lot of us would call reclaimed garbage, that they buried the houses halfway down into the earth for cooling purposes.
Yes, I love those.
And then I'll never forget, we wound up hiking down this trail to the bottom of a canyon where there were these hot springs right next to, I think it was the Rio Grande, if I remember. And me and my friends, we had all been we'd known each other for years, and we'd all been traveling together for weeks, and we just all stripped down naked and we got in the hot springs. And then there was this one other guy there with his dogs, and he was clearly doing his own thing. So we let him kind of inhabit his end of the hot springs, and we stuck to the other. We're these obnoxious New York, New Jersey people. And then we got to talking with him, all of us naked, including him. And he told me that he spends half the year in Taos, and then what he does the other half of the year is that he is a logger up in the northern like boundary water areas of Minnesota. And then apparently when people hunt for moose, the moose are so large that they can't take the moose with them if they get a kill. So they tag the location and then send him in with trucks and equipment to get the moose out. And he said his life between the logging and moose retrieval was so lonely and isolating that he would do that for 6 months of the year until the isolation started to drive him to actual mental illness.
Wow. At
which point he'd then drive down south to Taos and heal himself with some human interaction and these very hot springs that we were in.
Ooh.
And I was like, this is some real deal America stuff right here.
Yeah. The New Mexico is some pretty magic stuff too, for sure.
Yeah.
There was the healing dirt at this Catholic church I forgot what the name of the place was, but they would have pilgrims, Catholic pilgrims from all around walk to this church and go into this little tiny cave-like room where there was this little hole in the ground, and they would scoop out dirt, put it into bags, bring it home to heal anybody that needed it. And we actually went and visited the site, and it was profound. It was really a beautiful experience. And I don't know if the dirt really has healing properties. I don't remember if I tried to use it for anything, but I just was really impressed by the beauty of that ritual, and the people who were doing it. It was mostly Hispanic Catholics, but it was gorgeous.
When you start to look into Hispanic Catholicism, specifically in Mexico, you see a lot of the crossover with folk customs. Mm-hmm. And one of my favorite things is that there are certain groups that heavily involve Coca-Cola in religious ceremonies. This is true. You can look it up. And that there was a push by Pepsi at one point to try to convince people that Pepsi actually had more religious potential as like an elixir than Coke. This is true.
Oh my goodness.
I love stuff like that. Now I have to ask, because look, probably the first time that it's going to be brought up on the show, but we're in 2024.
Yeah.
It's an election season. This year, I remember 2016 in particular and 2020, episodes start to show up on Beautiful Anonymous with people who have their opinions and want to put them out there, or at the very least who it becomes mentioned more and more, in the same way that during the pandemic there would be at the very least cursory mentions of it in a lot of episodes. And it kind of feels like we're in the end of January. It's becoming clear who the presidential nominees are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you and I share something, which is that we've traveled all over the country at this ground level, car level, human interaction level. I can guess your values. I mean, you spent 8 years in the Bay Area. You're in an interracial marriage. Your daughter lives in France. This tells me that those are all signals of someone who probably, I would have to imagine, has similar values to mine as far as politically. But I have often thought about the profound effect that comes with traveling this country. And it's had a major effect on me in how I think of politics and speak of them and think of coverage of them. And I don't want to be one of these people going mainstream media, but you do start to see the business model a little bit more. And I'm wondering what your experience is. And I don't want to put words in your mouth if that hasn't happened, but I wonder if you do have any opinions on that.
I do. I am kind of a humanist. I'm also a little bit of an idealist. I really want everybody to just get along, like at my core. And so I am really upset by the polarization that's happened in our country. And I don't appreciate any form of dogmatism. And so I think the answer really is just connecting with people on a human to human level, which is probably one reason I love this show so much, because we get to understand that humans aren't just politics, religion, certain little slices and dices. They're complex, unique beings, that bring a whole lot of value and to the table. Even like I can try to find like good things to see in almost anybody,
And let's keep in mind too, this with the caveat that we still live in a country where you mentioned that you effectively had to research and make sure you didn't wind up in sundown towns, because that is still a factor. So with the caveat of that, I love what you're saying.
True.
This is very realistic.
I will say though, we did have a bit of a transformation by doing that journey, because, we lived in the Bay for 8 years, got solidly bubbled up. And I think doing that journey really helped break the bubble open. And, even though I'm still not excited about the things that the Proud Boys stand for example, I'm not excited about, the racism that exists. within our fabric of our country, I still was like, well, you know what? There's good people everywhere, there's good people everywhere. And so I think I'm a little less concerned than I was when we first set out on that trip, just knowing that there's good people everywhere.
I have often said, like in the Jewish faith,
Mm-hmm.
there's the concept of birthright, where you return and see Israel in person. And people are furious at Israel right now. I get it. I've tried to avoid diving in too deep in this show because and I'll put this out here, naturally, I would love to talk to, we've had contact from Israeli callers, and I would like to have them on the show. I would also like to make sure we have Palestinian callers lined up at the same time to make sure that it's not explosive and tangled up. But the idea that you return to a place that your faith views as a part of your faith, the idea that, in Islam, Mecca, Medina, similar, this idea, you return to these places that are holy. I have often thought that America would be a much better place if culturally everyone around their late teens, early 20s drove cross country.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think a lot of nonsense would stop within a few years of that if that became a tradition. I've also thought about, one of my dreams for a while was, I wish that I could develop some sort of app that would use technology to make hitchhiking safe again.
That's a cool idea. All right, let's go find a VC founder for you.
I mean, you're the one from the Bay. You're the one from the Bay. You tell me who to pitch to and how, but you take that ball and run with it, which I think is ultimately impossible. I mean, the well is kind of poisoned on the romance of hitchhiking.
Yeah.
After the 1970s. But I've done it. I've had there's been times where, because of my dumb comedy projects where I like to travel cross country, where I've been in strangers' cars. I was once in a stranger's car with a family because I was stuck at a highway rest area on Native American land. Very few people were stopping there. A family gave me a ride. Halfway through the journey, they were so lovely and joking with me and asking me about comedy. And then halfway through the journey, I realized that they were on their way to the funeral of a family member, and it was a sudden and unexpected death, and they still took time out of their day to get me out of a jam. And then I realized they're kind of quietly talking about, well, we need to stop and buy nicer clothes. And when I inquired why, oh, well, we're going to an event, kind of a family thing. And I go, you didn't get to pack clothes for, well, it was last minute. It's actually a funeral. And you sit here, you realize you have experiences like that. And you go, man, people are just like living. And I'm with you. Things like the Proud Boys, sickening. Yeah. Things like the fact that there's areas of the country, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but people will point to like that where Oregon and Idaho cross over, and there's many people that say that that's like a home base for a lot of white power groups. And you sit there, you go, man, it's terrifying. It's terrifying. And in no way do I want to validate it. But when you get to different places in this country that you have heard horror stories about, what you often find is that most of the people in those places are not that, and are as scared or more scared than you are. And a lot of the people who seem angriest are actually in the most pain.
Yep. I mean, honestly, Chris, I think we're being manipulated quite a bit. The stories that get painted about the other are usually exaggerated, if not untrue. And so I agree there needs to be more just exploring each other's worlds. And I don't know how we do that. I'm a huge fan of doing that globally too, with, like foreign exchange students, the mission of that. That's actually how my daughter ended up in France, with going on a study abroad program in high school.
So cool.
And we hosted a Thai exchange student in our house, and it was just like such a wonderful way to start opening up these lenses to other parts of the world, and understanding that people are people. They're we're all the same, essentially. in many, many ways.
One of the
And
greatest gifts of marrying my wife. So I came from a family, and my dad liked to travel to a degree. He had to do some of it for work. But I mean, I came from a working class neighborhood in Jersey. My mom is not a big traveler. And I think I went to Canada in high school and then married my wife. And she was like, I love international travel. We have to do more of it. And it made me so nervous. I'd been to England at that point, maybe. And all of a sudden, she's got me going. I've mentioned Sri Lanka, this life-changing trip, and I've been to all these different parts of the world now, and different continents, and
yeah,
South America. I've been to Brazil and Chile, and these places I never thought I'd go. And what's amazing is, like, you go to even a place like London that feels so connected to the States, and it's this weird thing when you're even in London. I once was there. I was in Edinburgh for a month. And I got a cold, and I went to the pharmacy, and I was like, none of the medicines are the same. I just don't know which one is zinc.
yeah.
Oh, this is overwhelming. And then you go to, that's the UK. And then you're in a place like Chile on a road trip, or Sri Lanka where you've hired, somebody, you paid somebody $20 and they're driving you for 3 hours, and you're getting to know them. And you start to realize that in every corner of the world, no matter what the customs are that are different, all people want to do everywhere is eat good meals, get a little buzzed, and laugh with their friends and family. And it's everywhere.
Pretty much.
It's everywhere. There are not these pockets of the world where people have these evil agendas.
Nope.
The people you meet, 99% of the time, unless a disaster strikes, are just like, yeah, you want to have a drink? Go get some food. Have a couple laughs. Now, obviously, with the caveat that there's parts of the world that are where there's warlords and there's piracy and there's fascism, and this is not true everywhere. But the human condition, I think, does tend towards, what do we got to do to get some good food and some drinks and some laughs? That is the human condition, unless that is manipulated by people with bad intentions and power.
Yeah, all of us just want to be loved and enjoy life. That's it.
It's true everywhere.
That's it. Yeah. I will say I do have family in Israel, and it's been a really difficult time. I'm a mutt, so my mother is Jewish, my father Irish Catholic, and
the guilt. How did you deal with the guilt? I mean, no wonder you see ghosts. No wonder ghosts talk to you with that mix.
Yeah. But I feel like there has to be a level of and thinking. Like there's a lot of suffering happening in the Middle East, and there's a lot of bad things going on, and we should have compassion for all the people who are caught up in what really amounts to be, a few powerful people trying to do a power grab one way or another, or maintain power one way or another. But the people who are living through it don't deserve it on either side of the equation. No,
people should have control. I have not gotten into it. I know I'm opening a can of worms. There's probably people wondering when it's going to come up. And for anybody wondering what I'm thinking, I will just say, kids should not be dying. People should have control of their own water supply, power supply. Hospitals should not be bombed. These things are common sense. I will also say to all my Jewish listeners, Israeli listeners, people flew in on gliders and killed teenagers. And I've never seen a tragedy that severe where people were given less time to grieve. And that's awful too. And all of it is awful. And I know there are people out there who want to just say one side or the other, choose a side. And I will say it is impossible for me to do, because I can't look at footage of any of this.
Yeah,
and say that there's.
I feel you. Yeah, no, I live with a lot of guilt.
This is
You're right.
horror. This is horror. All of it is horror, and that's all I've been able to sort out as far as my feelings.
Yeah, I feel very similar to you on that. It's almost too big to comprehend.
It's really horrible. Really, really bad.
I don't even know how you come back from that conversation.
No. And look, me and you now have 1 minute left to the dot.
Oh no.
So we had this
No.
amazing call. Let's laugh about Airbnb people. Let's talk about the beauty of travel. Let's talk about mysticism and contact with the other side and how all these things talk together and how we can come together as people. Now, for the first time on the show, let's bring up a world tragedy that gets exponentially better by the day and have 41 seconds to sort it out.
Well, let's just do our best to love each other, people. Just freaking love each other. Try to make space and understanding and compassion, and understand that there's so much manipulation happening. You know, just people are people everywhere.
People are people. And you have to. One thing I will say is, I do think you need to make a good faith effort to see suffering in all its forms and be affected by it, even though that is brutal and hard to put yourself through. And since this is the first time this very divisive thing has come up on the show, I will say the amount of death is staggering. It needs to stop right now. So I am somebody who sits there and I see people posting for ceasefire, and I go, of course, stop. If this all stopped in its tracks and less people died and there was another way to sort this out, it would be, let's find that other way immediately. Also, the footage from October 7th, also horrible, terrifying, super villain stuff, also horrible, and I need to acknowledge that too. And I apologize to anybody who has wondered why I haven't brought it up, but I can't sit here and pretend that I have a simple opinion on it. And this idea that Twitter makes you pick a team, this isn't, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. So yeah. Anyway, caller. I mean, I'm not going to say we stuck the landing as far as...
No, we didn't, but it's real.
As far as the tenor and tone of the call, but it's real life. And the good thing is we're going to say goodbye to everybody in the free feed right now. And we get to go ahead and do the 5 questions, which has become one of my favorite parts of Beautiful Anonymous. If you're someone who has subscribed, just keep listening. It'll be right here on your episode. If you're somebody who is not subscribed and you want to think about it, beautifulanonymous.com. And I have a feeling, caller, that 5 random questions for you could lead to an endless bounty of who knows what. So I'm looking forward to it. Goodbye to everybody on the free feed. And now we'll keep things going with Beautiful Anonymous Plus. Caller, thank you so much for everything. It was really lovely to talk to you. I know you and I could have sat and talked for 4 hours, and you never would have run out of fascinating and interesting stuff. Thank you for being so cool and telling me about your family and your adventures and your paranormal adventures and everything else. So lovely to talk to you. This show is produced by the High Priestess Andrea Quinn, who talk about witch involvement in this show. I think certainly a witch-adjacent human being. Has not outright told me that she does spells, but someday we'll have that conversation. Anyway, thank you, Andrea. Thanks to Shellshag for our music. Go to chrisgeth.com if you want to know more about me, including upcoming tour dates in Brooklyn, Idaho, Vancouver. And hey, we got a voicemail line if you want your story on the show, 973-306-4676. We have an Instagram, Beautiful Anonymous Pod. Thank you all so much for listening. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions. Shall I test and see from memory how much of scenario I can still do off the top of my head?
Go for it.
Okay. Hey, yo, Bo know this and Bo know that, but Bo don't know Jack because Bo can't rap. Well, what do you know? The did-dog is first up to bat. No batteries included and no strings attached. No holds barred, no time for move faking. Got to get the loot so I could bring home the bacon. Brothers front, they say the tribe can't flow, but we've been known to do the impossible like Broadway Joe. So sleep if you want. My troop will help you get your Z's, troop. But here's the real scoop. I'm all that and then some, tall, dark, and handsome. Bust a nut inside your eye to show you where I come from. I'm vexed. I'm fuming. Had it up to here. My days of paying dues are over. Acknowledge me. I'm in here. Yeah, head for the border. Go get a taco. So, from the get-go, sit back, relax, and let yourself go. Don't switch what you heard or act like you know. Yes, yes, y'all. Who's got the vibe? It's the tribe, y'all. Stay live, y'all. Inside, outside, come around. Who's that brown? Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. At Mint Mobile, we like to do the opposite of what Big Wireless does. They charge you a lot. We charge you a little. So naturally, when they announced they'd be raising their prices due to inflation, we decided to deflate our prices due to not hating you. That's right. We're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
Welcome to Finally Caught, a true crime podcast from the hit North American and UK television series.
I saw the one girl with her throat cut and her abdomen stabbed and slashed.
It's a gruesome sight.
Bloodstains on the bed, wall.
This is just the beginning of the journey. Each episode details a horrific murder and subsequent investigation in order to capture the killer at large. To the newly released first season of Finally Caught, available wherever you get your podcasts.